we will move along to our program. So Janet, take us away.
Yes. So today our program is our own Claudia, Yakos, and Julia Kohler talking about the international project that they're working on, Gardens of Hope. And they're going to talk about the pilot project some, and then where they're going forward with that. So Claudia and Julia, you want to take it over?
Yes, thank you so much. And thanks to Mike, he's assisting us with the technical support, So first of all, we just want to say thank you so much to our club and everybody that is supporting us through this initial stage of our club's first global grant. I wanted to basically start off by telling you the why and the how this came to be. So if we can go to the next slide. So this is my mom, Esperanza, short is Espi Torres. We lost her in November of 2019. And she was a little bit of trivia here. She was actually in 1965 through 1969, she was Club Rotario Aguascalientes, the secretary, though she could not be a member because, as we know, women were not allowed to join Rotary, but she was a reporter for the Herald Post in Aguascalientes, and so her boss would always bring her to the Rotary meetings, and she would take all the minutes and do all of the things that secretaries do for our clubs. She then got married and the rest is history, but we still have family in Aguascalientes, Mexico. And because my passion in Rotary is international service, I knew that I wanted to first go on some international project trips, see the lay of the land, because I just had this inclining to do something, though I wasn't sure what it was going to be. As the years went on, we started visiting this area, visiting family, and just understanding just the grave need of food and healthy nutrition was really kind of coming to the forefront. And upon her passing, it was just very clear as day that I would start a foundation named the SB Collective. And the SB, obviously in honor of my mom, and a collective because I think that one of the traits that I inherited from my mom is just being a good connector and a good networker. And so the first project for this collective is the Gardens of Hope, and wanted to talk to you about the why and the how that came to be. So now we can go on to the next slide and talk to you about what this project is. I do also want to mention that we started the endeavor of the global grant about 2 years ago, and we knew that we wanted to have a project last year. So we did venture out to Mexico in April, and there was a group of 3 Rotarians from our club, Julia, myself, and Daryl Carmley, that joined 8 more people, some from throughout the United States that I had partnered with in other projects, and then a team in Mexico that helped make this happen. So because the global grant was put on pause due to all of the, basically all of the funds were gone for the past year. So we knew we wanted to continue to work on this global grant, and we have Stuart Martin is our coach and helping us to work and navigate the long process of this global grant. But Gardens of Hope, what is it? It's an organic family gardens planted in the backyard by women, heads of households, the elderly, and people with disabilities. Little did we know that it was going to reach beyond this group of people. Next slide. So the project goals basically is to try to reach out to as many beneficiaries as as possible, and to make sure that all the support that we're providing is aiming to achieve the project's goal. We want to ensure that the resources are reaching the most vulnerable groups. We want to ensure that we raise nutritional quality of the rural population diet by utilizing the backyards or plots to boost production for self-consumption. We want to encourage organic agriculture and environmental awareness, integrate families to work together, instill entrepreneurship in children, and promote the use of new technologies. One of the things that has been highlighted here is the community, the sense of community that folks have, because we do provide a full year of technical support where our teams are going twice a month to work with the families to ensure that things are growing properly, to help replant in some cases, to help weed, to provide recipes. A lot of people might get tired of a lot of squash, so it's bringing in new recipes and helping the families exchange fruits and vegetables. Next slide. So the characteristics of the family garden is backyard production system with drip irrigation, organic fertilization, and repellency. The space is about 5 to 15 meters, allowing us to save about 80% of the water. Rich variety of vegetables are being grown that is suited for this climate, the soil, the water, and more importantly, the dietary requirements of the area. This food, it really was supposed to be for a family of 8, but it has yielded far beyond measure. And it has provided for some families surpluses for cash. Next one. So I would like to now introduce a quick video with some of our families that can tell you a little bit more about what this means to them.
Rabanitos, calabacitas, pepinos, betabeles.
En mi huerto creció chícharos, ejotes, calabacita, repollo, cilantro, zanahoria, ¿se llama? Acelgas, jitomate, rábanos, sandía, melón, pepino, que es lo que tengo sembrado ahorita.
Rábano, cilantro, espinaca.
Nos nació el brócoli, repollo, rábanos, hasta elote, jitomate y calabacitas, cilantro, lechuga y pues yo creo nada más.
Aprendimos cultivar en casa, eso fue el aprendizaje.
Pues aprendimos mucho, pues aprendimos que podemos aprovechar cualquier espacio de nuestra casa que no tenía ninguna utilidad, y ahí pudimos pues preparar nuestro huerto, cómo sembrar, qué semillas sembrar y en qué tiempo, porque al principio tuvimos muchos errores. Primero la sembrábamos toda apilada y no daba. Ya aprendimos a separarla, a sembrarla un poquito más separado, y pues ya lo que se dio pues ya fue mucho mejor. Aprendimos a alimentar a nuestra familia sanamente, convivir con las personas, porque cuando está uno sin estos proyectos está uno más aislado. Y por ejemplo ahora pues ya conocimos más, otras nos enseñaron qué hacer para mejorar nuestro huerto.
Al principio pues le batallamos para poder cosechar porque no sabíamos en realidad cómo se cosechaba, pero ya después nos fuimos guiando con el Señor. Él nos fue explicando cómo y todo. Y ya después ya ni le preguntábamos, ya ya sabíamos cómo.
Pues sí hemos aprendido mucho y nos ha hecho falta para, pues más que nada para ahorrarse uno de comprar, y por eso le echamos ganas para tener, y pues a veces uno no tiene para comprar verduras más que yo que las necesito, ¿verdad? Porque pues yo soy diabética y pues tengo que comer verduras. Y pues por eso también le echamos muchas ganas, y para ellos también, para mis hijos.
Sí, claro que sí. Pues porque ya tenemos vegetales en casa, sin necesidad pues, de salir a comprar.
Nos cambió la vida nuestro huerto. ¿En qué aspecto? En el aspecto económico, pues sí nos ahorramos, porque pues ya nosotros producíamos lo que más ocupamos en nuestra casa. En salud, pues aprendimos a darle más sano a nuestros hijos, y en lo social, pues como le decía, aprendimos a convivir con las personas, a conocerlas.
La verdad se me hacía algo increíble que pues que yo no pensé que fuéramos a sacar todo eso que sacamos hasta por botes de calabacitas y de jitomate, y yo decía, en eso sacamos tanta cosecha.
Que ella ahorita está internada, y cuando está en su casa voy y le llevo así poquito que coma ella, y pues porque ahorita no le pueden dar ahí, ¿verdad? Pero ya cuando está en su casa cargo así que una lechuguita, que pues lo que hay aquí en el huerto, y pues ya le cozo, se la machuco bien y le doy para que ella coma.
Fueron arrimando al ver que en el huerto ya había verduras y vegetales.
Mi familia es muy chiquita, somos dos, tengo 2 hijos nada más y mi esposo. Mis hijos ya son grandes, pues ellos casi no, pero sí me ayudaban de todos modos. El que más me ayudó fue mi esposo, que a pesar de cómo andaba de salud, él me anduvo ahí ayudando a preparar la tierra. Pues como que nos unimos un poquito más, ¿sí? Propició la unión entre nosotros, aprendimos a compartir responsabilidades.
Pues una vez nos tocaba unos de yerbar, otro que regaba. Sí, mi suegro, mi suegra y los niños, mi esposo.
Me gusta mucho hacer todo eso, todo lo de huertos, y a veces ellos que no tienen trabajo, ellos atienden muy bien el huerto. No ve que no tiene hierba ni nada, porque ellos aquí se andan. Si yo tengo mi quehacer, pues ellos se ponen aquí, ¿verdad? Y pues yo no me entretengo casi. Y ellos son los que andan aquí, haciéndole aquí al huerto.
Pues ponerle más tierra al huerto, a lo mejor para que los hijos sean más grandes y se puedan dar más.
Nosotros nos ha ido también en nuestro huerto, que estamos pensando ampliarlo un poquito más, ¿sí? Porque nos prestaron un pedazo más o menos, pero de ese pedazo nada más utilizamos la mitad. Entonces estamos pensando crecerlo, lo que nos falta, y pues plantar otras cosas, como decía la señora Gaby, árboles frutales, pues todo lo que se pueda plantar ahí.
Sí, está bien así como está, pero que nos dieran una parte de como para fruta y otra de verdura, porque ya, pues sí, ya decía uno, a veces ya hasta las calabacitas nos tenían ya hasta aburridos, y así decía uno, una frutita pues ya variaba.
Ya si se nos acaba pudiéndose las cosas, pues volvemos a poner más, porque sí nos hace mucha falta.
Okay, so you got to see a few of the homeowners, the gardeners that had the initial 40 gardens. And this is what they would get in that package. They'd get an irrigation drip system. It looks like a series of connected hoses that are fitted together with filters and such. They get 45 seed packets with a large variety of fruits and vegetables that they can choose to grow. They get fertilizer, insect repellent, they get a sprayer, gardening kit, and then a lot of the mesh wire. Every one of the gardens was surrounded with this mesh wire to keep out any animals other than birds. They definitely had some that had rats go underneath the wire or birds come over. So, they're having to really work toward what's going to keep this garden safe. There's a lot of trial and error initially. Can we go to the next slide, please? And then the technology that went into this. There was an engineer that came in twice a month for a couple of days and would visit these 40 gardens and kind of help assess what their needs are. Some had better soil than others. Some had more shade than others. Most of them had access to water. There was one or two that did not. So there's just a lot of things that they had to learn. But they did use just all organic crops. They have the drip irrigation available, companion planting, what can plant well together, or also what your neighbor's planting. We had some where initially they planted the vegetables too close together and they just wouldn't mature. They couldn't get any bigger because they were too crowded. So we spent some time, thinning that out and taking it over to the neighbor that hadn't started as early as them, so they didn't have all their vegetables planted, and how to work together too. I mean, we all know if you know anybody that grows tomatoes, they're going to be giving away tomatoes by the time they come in. So if you know what your neighbor's planting, then you can make different choice and you can share some of that crop. And also to compost a lot of the plants after you've harvested from them, and also keeping the bugs and things down. Next slide, please. So the technical staff that came in bi-monthly was also working with social services. That's who identified these families initially. So if you can imagine, Aguascalientes is a city of about 1.3 million people. And so these were villages that were rural and outside this urban area. And social services identified households that were already receiving aid, that were food insecure, that had a female head of household. And in those 4 villages, there was about 10 families chosen in each one. And they either used part of their backyard or a plot of land that the city owned and made available to these families. They also had to attend classes, and sort of in these little villages, social services helped organize that so that they were learning and helping one another. The technical assistant that would come in bi-monthly then would help say, okay, if you didn't need fertilizer, let's go give some to your neighbor who does need fertilizer, or you didn't use all your seed packets, or the rats ate yours, so let's share. So they were really having to tackle all these issues sort of on the fly. And the first time the gardens were planted, we saw many that either rats ate all of their seeds, or birds came in and ate all their seeds, so that they've had to replant. And these families, would tend to get discouraged. But because they had all this support and they had, everyone kind of seeing this through, they got over that initial hurdles. And you could see from the videos, once these gardens start coming in, they're so proud. Not only do they have this, produce for their family, but their extended family and neighbors. The technical staff then, was really key and instrumental in keeping them motivated and keeping them on a schedule and keeping the community support with the social services and the education where they would have these meetings. I think all 40 of the gardens are successful, and there's several residents, or many residents in all these villages that are asking if they can get on the list to be a family chosen for a future garden. Next slide, please. So there's a lot of reasons of to why to do the garden, and number one is improving the nutrition. In this area, diabetes is very high, and the families that were chosen who were receiving social services and food, they were living on a diet of masa, so the corn that is made, corn tortillas, and beans. And there was families that had said, over the past, year and a half, 2 years, that they were literally living on just the beans and the masa, and then whatever they could grow. And they were growing lettuce and cilantro. And that's what their family ate for all of their meals for close to 2 years prior to having this garden. So to bring in vegetables and fruit into the diet was extremely important. And also managing the diabetes that a lot of these families are plagued with. So the other benefits of the garden, of course, the health, bringing your family together, learning about, gardening, learning how to grow in this climate and with, these different challenges, whether they were the birds or the rats or the full sun or the heat, the lack of water. There was just so much that went into the benefits of having these gardens, and then seeing that they are able to then share their food and meet their neighbors and help each other. Next slide, please. So we see the difference before and after the garden is the pluses, or the nutrition year round. The great thing about the climate there, even though it's desert like, is it they can just continuously harvest. There's not a season where they can't grow. The climate's very consistent throughout the year. The family is getting involved, and they're saving money, and they're having better nutrition. They're recycling or composting any of the waste. They're sharing and bartering with their neighbors. The neighborhood's getting involved. There's definitely, you'll see we have another short video at the end, and it's sort of having used a drone to fly over this area, and you'll notice the gardens, but you also notice the neighborhood and what's there. There's nothing there. I mean, these people are really, truly, you wonder why, it's just a garden. Why wouldn't everybody try to grow? Well, when you see what the soil and what's growing, it's sagebrush and dirt, and that's all there is out there. And the ones that don't have the garden, this poor nutrition, there's not sure where to go, to have anything else. There's no money for groceries. Unemployment it's significant. There's just nothing there. I know when we were working, there were people coming up to us asking, if we come back, can we bring clothes for their kids? Can we, what other help can we bring? And so the need is great. But the food and teaching them to garden and sharing with their neighbors, it's really brought a sense of community to those areas. Next slide, please. So probably the top 5 benefits looking at this project was the teamwork that developed out of it, teaching them how to grow, promoting the nutrition, to try different new foods that are healthy, and to appreciate the work that has gone into it and the learning of it. Next slide, please. So here's the video, and this will be sort of the aerial views.
that is the team that was together, trying to figure out, how we were going to make things happen. People that came to support us from different nonprofit organizations that I had collaborated with in the past. It was a wonderful week. Definitely the MVP award goes to Julia. This Rotarian, my goodness, if you saw that little clip of somebody putting rocks in those like crevices and holes, that was Julia. She was going to make sure that the time that she was there, she was going to help in whichever way that she could. Because we are in the planning of this being a global grant, we did partner with one of the local Rotary clubs. And since then we have added the largest club in Aguascalientes. And Mike and I will be heading out to Mexico next week and meeting with them. And what they bring to the table, which is very exciting, is again, their networks and just so many possibilities to make this just a huge success. This year, because the grant, once approved, would be in 2023. And our team really wants to continue to follow up with these families, continue to work with these families so that we can scale up and have more individuals that are available to train new families. We are going to be this year with the club support and some creative fundraising. We are going to be planting more gardens in the local schools in the community, a local school in the community. And also we are going to plant, we're in the discussion with a girls' home in Aguascalientes. We've discussed with the government there and the home to plant 5 key vegetables that will be sold to restaurants. We already have the commitments of the restaurants to be able to purchase all that is grown in the girls' home. And we're now moving into how do we create a fund that will go towards girls' education. Where do we go from here? We continue to work on the global grant. Of course, sitting idle last year was just not an option. So we figured out a way to at least go and pilot this with 40 families. We've seen what has gone well, what we can do better. The technical support that the families receive is for a full year. So twice a month, they are working with the technical staff of 4 that we have in Mexico. And just continuing to learn, to grow, to replant, to share recipes. Julie, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add or explain how they too can get involved.
Yes, thank you. So the idea is when we talk about this global grant, what we're talking about is going from the 40 original gardens to 400. So all these little rural areas surrounding Aguascalientes, we want to get gardens in all of those communities to up to 400, and a garden in each of the schools, so that even if your family wasn't chosen as one that was going to receive it, that they would have the opportunity to participate and learn about gardening and nutrition through the schools as a sort of club. And again, because social services out there is involved in helping select the families, they're very supportive. The schools are excited. So we're really wanting to get this going and to see this through. So we will be going down once or twice a year. So if anybody in our club is interested, usually it's going to be the end of March or early April, going down for approximately a week. I believe this last year, out of pocket, because we all pay our own way to go down, I believe it was about maybe $2,400 total. It was probably what it cost between airfare, and we did have a driver and an interpreter for the week, as well as all of our meals and our stay down there. So it was a reasonable cost, I thought. But we will be going down this year. So if there's anybody that's interested in going, if there's anybody that's interested in helping kind of brainstorm how to get to that next step and how to do that. I mean, we're thinking in terms of, I don't know a lot about gardening, but I do know other people who are, better at gardening, and getting some ideas from them of, what can we do different? How can we, promote more of this? There's just a lot involved, and Claudia's done a tremendous amount, like she says, using her networks and leveraging other people's skills, but definitely want to get more involvement from members in our club who might be interested in participating in some way. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, and a trip like this for about a week will run you about, it's actually about like a $1,500. A round trip ticket planned well is going to run you under $600, and the stay with everything, meals. I mean, so you can count on about $1,500. Everything is included, along with the driver and so very safe. And what you can look forward to is helping plant, helping support the families. A lot of them might have already planted by the time that we go on our trips, but what it means is helping to help weed, or helping to replant if things were planted a little too close together. We can also be available to talk to them and provide recipes, and just get to know the people that we are helping. So with that, if anybody has any questions, I think that I'm really very, very proud. I think Julia and I are just, our hearts are, they swell when we see all of the produce that is growing, and when they send us pictures and we share. It's just a really neat feeling. And we just want to thank our club for supporting our big dreams, and through our efforts, we're making such a huge difference in these communities.
I had a question for Claudia and Julia, and that is that it seems that the SB Collective focus fits very nicely within the 6-7 areas of interest of Rotary International. So my question is, how many other Rotary clubs up here have you made this presentation to get them to partner with this project?
So we are bringing it first to our club. I have had conversations with multiple clubs. I've talked to the Rotary Club of Forest Grove. I'm supposed to be meeting with Kevin Noreen to discuss the partnership for that. And this global grant is actually going to fall under the economic growth and development. So it could go anywhere, but really this is where it makes the most sense for us to continue to work on this particular area of focus. But our goal is to definitely use this video and send it out. We are going to start doing a pretty heavy marketing campaign to seek donations. As we know, a global grant of this scale is going to probably end up about a $35,000. We're going to have to provide about $35,000 in order to get, all of the matching grants and the RI grants and whatnot. So we're really excited. We know the endeavor. We know it's definitely going to be a challenge, one that we're going to meet head on. We've got a lot of ideas in how we intend to get the funding. Not only is it going to be through Rotary clubs, but we're also going to do some private funding and some events and some sales. And we can go ahead and provide that information in the Rototeller just so that everybody has that information. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else, Julia.
Just that we're already beginning the fundraising by selling the wreaths. So do you want to touch on the wreath sale?
Yes, so we will be sending you just an email with information on wreaths where you can very easily just click and purchase. It's still going to be going through Melinda Fisher, which is what we purchased them from last year. And I've been working with Melinda for the last 10 years selling wreaths. So we've got kind of a nice little customer base from our previous dance moms that I'm hoping will contribute to this endeavor. So we're going to start off with that, and then we have some plans in the spring of doing an auction for this international project. And so just a lot of really fun ideas that will help us reach that goal.
Maybe they could help.
I had another follow-up question, Claudia. I saw the Rotary banner of the Rotary Club there in Aguas Catalan. How do you say it?
Aguascalientes. It translates to hot waters.
I know, hot waters. But my question is, how many other clubs in that Rotary district in Mexico have bought into this project? Because 400 more gardens. I mean, I'm kind of thinking you're kind of maybe moving regionally outside your initial spot.
Yes, that's correct. So currently in Aguascalientes, there are 5 Rotary clubs. We are partnering currently with 2, but it's the largest club. And we are also, one of our biggest supporters is a previous president from this club, Industrial de Aguascalientes, and he now heads the largest club in all of Mexico, which is the Rotary Club of Chapultepec, Mexico. But he lives in Aguascalientes. So that, coupled with all of their network, is the state is completely behind us. We are going to be meeting next week with the Secretary of State there in Aguascalientes to discuss, how they're going to support us. And we've got access to radio and TV Aguascalientes for a concert that we're going to be putting on out there to fundraise. So we thankfully, with the network and just being able to connect with a lot of key players in Aguascalientes, we do have a significant amount of support. We're also working with the University of Aguascalientes and their agriculture program to use some of their students to do their work. They have to complete certain hours of work, and that's kind of where they're going to be used, along with, they have a very large, vibrant Rotaract club. So I think all the puzzle pieces are falling very nicely into place, so that when that global grant is approved, 400 isn't scary. It's not a scary thought, because we do have a lot of people collaborating and wanting to make this, successful.
All right. Are there any more questions?
Okay, yeah, sure. My question is, I'm sorry, I'm into
right.
it, is, are you going to be taking this project and SB Collective to the RI convention in Houston to broaden your base of people being aware of it? Because, in some aspects, Claudia, it just feels like I'm kind of watching the beginning of Shelter Box with this. This is how Shelter Box started, was just as an idea out of one little club. And now it's an RI partner around the world. I can see something like this going that direction. So I'm just wondering.
Yes, in fact, Julia can attest, we, as you've heard a little bit, and I don't want to take a lot of time because this is another presentation for another time. You've heard about our new satellite club that is going to be another arm of our club, and it's a cost-based club. And the cost of this is basically individuals who run their own nonprofits. And the goal of this cost-based club, because it will be a remote club, because it'll be from people from all over, is to meet at the international convention and to have our booths set up as Rotary Club of Forest Grove, District 5100, displaying our projects. So you are definitely thinking in the manner in which we envisioned this to happen, because we know that there are a lot of countries that are looking for ways to support projects such as this.
And can I just add to that? So this isn't this process, or these packages of these gardens isn't something that was just made up. This is something that's already in place and was supposed to be piloted around Mexico, and there was that, it was just falling through the cracks. It wasn't successful. People just weren't able to get it to work. And so the difference is, and this is where Claudia's skill set really was put to good use, is that she connects people. So through our funding, we're providing that technical support. We brought in the social services to, get people together, fairly regularly for the education component, that we're not just planting the gardens and walking away and hoping that they were successful, because that's just not what's happened. There was many stumbles, these gardens, again, like the rats or the birds or they just didn't prep their soil, or they don't have the water. So finding, okay, how do we get them water? What's that going to cost? Where do we get? We just didn't put the pack it down and walk away. That doesn't work. And that's why this hasn't been successful. But by Rotary being involved and social services being involved and the Rotary clubs down there checking in with them, we're having these regular updates, and every one of these gardens is successful. And so that's what's working. And so now to expand it, that's why Rotary needs to be involved. It's not that the government or social services there can't provide this. It's that there's more that's needed for it to actually be successful. And so I completely agree with you, Janine, that this could be very much like Shelter Box with Rotarian support. So
And
yes, I want to go to Houston. I think we should definitely have a booth. And I know that we'll have, we can invite, our partners from the clubs in Mexico to meet up with us there as well. It'd be great.
Yeah, and again, thank you so much, everyone, for your support. We could go on, and but I think this is phase one of our update to the club. More to come. Thank you. We will be reaching out for any personal donations that you might want to contribute to, or buying a wreath, or what's to come. But just from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for your patience as we kind of go through all these videos and this information. We're definitely committed. It's our why, and we're excited that our club gets to spearhead this.
Thank you very much, Claudia and Julia and Mike, for facilitating. It was a great presentation. And it's an exciting step forward for our club to be involved in this. So really appreciate your time, everybody's attendance today.